I know we did last year, but it's the final this week, so quick word on that.
Yeah, as it gets nearer, the importance of it for both clubs is just going to really ramp up. 40,000 English fans going over to Bilbao. It's going to be a special atmosphere, and a lot at stake. A lot at stake for both managers, for both clubs. It really does impact the next, I think, maybe possibly 2-3 years for each of these clubs, because they need investment into their teams. And if they don't get this Champions League money, then there's going to be a lot less investment, which means then that they could not finish it. They might not finish in the Champions League next season, which then means that you're just, if you like, bumping the problem more down the road. And yeah, so important for both clubs. Ange, many saying that no matter what happens, that he may not stay at Spurs. So he said earlier on in the season that he would win silverware in his second season, and he's on the brink of doing so. For Rúben Amorim, you know, to win silverware in his first season at Manchester United and sort of be able to overcome the horrific league form and go into that pre-season with a new group of players, with the the money behind him that he's got to be able to invest into the squad, and the confidence of a medal round the players' necks and his net is massive. So it's huge on Wednesday, and I said from the moment that those two teams went through, I've got a sickly feeling about it. I won't look forward to it on Wednesday, to be honest with you, from a point of view as being a United fan, until it's over and hopefully United have won. But I know Tottenham fans will be thinking very differently.
Manchester United up against Tottenham next week. I'm in work on Thursday morning. I'm wondering how I'm going to feel or whether I'm even going to come in or not. But winless in 8 Premier League games now, Ben. Rúben Amorim says he's embarrassed by the Premier League record. What have you made of his start at Old Trafford?
Well, if I, as a Charlton fan, can be here talking about Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup, I think you can make it in.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's a really tough one, isn't it? Manchester United, Rúben Amorim. He has had an incredibly difficult start, I think it's fair to say. In person, I think he's been great. I've had the pleasure of a couple of interviews with him, obviously done plenty of press conferences with him. He is great for a quote, a dream as far as we're concerned in terms of the things he said about being the worst team in Manchester United history, possibly regarded as the worst manager. They're almost, you know, it's objectively their worst season in 50 years. He's only won 13 of 26 in the Premier League, which is not good enough for Manchester United, is it? This trophy would, in many ways, save their season. We had the same discussion, didn't we, about Pep Guardiola and Manchester City in the FA Cup. Well, the Europa League is a bigger trophy for United because of what it brings. That Champions League qualification has the potential to transform the club. We look at how much they'll need to change for next year, and having the revenue for the Champions League can only help, can't it? Help that rebuild, that restructure. Lots of pressure on Rúben Amorim, though, because he has to start to deliver. He knows that.
Yeah.
He's sat there in the chair at either Old Trafford or at Carrington at the training base, and he's said quite simply, I know the size of this club. I know we have to win. And he's not got enough out of that group of players. They've only got wins in the last few months against teams in the bottom 3 and in the Europa League. So, in many senses, the Europa League's been where they've played their best football. Yeah. That'll give him hope. In the biggest of matches, they've tended to do a little bit better. This is a big match. So, I think United will win, personally. I do think they'll win the final. But it could change, almost like a sliding doors moment. A win takes United in one direction. Defeat takes them possibly in another. Yeah,
it's one of those, isn't it?
Possibly.
We probably, Tottenham need a trophy more. But Manchester United, I would argue, need Champions League football more. So it's kind of lose-lose situation, really. There's no win-win here, I don't think. But are they prepared enough to play both Champions League and Premier League football and compete in both next season? Because Rúben Amorim, Ben, he's not even sure himself.
No, well, they're not. And he knows that. I mean, he's said simply that they're not good enough many times because he's seeing what he's got to work with. He has now tested the players in a number of different environments, whether that is a game they should win, a game against a big club, a high-pressure game in Europe, a cup competition. He's seen what this squad is capable of, certainly playing in his system. He's seen who is suitable for his system. He has tried pretty much every player in the squad at various times. I mean, he's had to, and he's had injuries. They've been obviously very disruptive for him as well. He's tried some youngsters who he has, I think, cherry-picked to play specifically in positions where they maybe don't have the cover. I'm thinking of maybe Harry Amas coming in, for example, on the left, that kind of wing-back role, which is so crucial to his system, isn't it? If they do get in the Champions League, they'll need to recruit. There's no doubt about it. I mean, all the way through the team, really. I mean, we always talk about the spine. They haven't scored enough goals, so is a goal scorer their priority? Can they afford to get in a number 9 and one of those number 10 players? Possibly not. So where do you put your money there? Probably a central midfielder to take the load off of Kobe Mainoo and maybe replace Casemiro. Those wing-back areas are potentially vulnerable, and then maybe a centre-half as well. I mean, it's a huge potential rebuild for a club that, as we know, has consistently been making cuts across all departments to try and save money. The owner saying that they would have gone bust if they'd not taken the measures they had to restructure. It's a tricky situation.
It really is. Listen, Martin Samuel in the Sunday Times today, he actually believes that whatever happens in the Europa League final, they've got to stay with Rúben Amorim. And he says, despite all the points differentials, all the points that are trending downwards and all of the statistics, he says that, look at the pull quote at the bottom of the screen. If he went, those who put him in that position would need to go too. And here's why. He says, when they came knocking, he said at that point, I would rather come at the end of the season, not now. He said, I'd rather come when I could get my own players in, play the way that I want to play, rather than now with players that are totally unsuited to the style of football that enabled me to dominate Portuguese football. And what was said to him at the time was, if you don't come now, then we're going to get someone else and the opportunity might not come again. So it's got to be now. And now he's gone there, it's all gone very badly. Now you can maybe use the counter argument, well, why didn't he just play? And to be fair, Martin does, why didn't he just play with a system that would have suited the players? But the bottom line is that if you look at where the club are right now, if you look at the decision making at Manchester United, in Martin's view, which has seen Dan Ashworth come in and then leave, which before him had seen Erik ten Hag continued with after winning the FA Cup and backed in the summer with a pile of players and a pile of money that suddenly was all rendered useless when Ten Hag was sacked and Amorim was basically handed players that were not suited to the way that he wanted to play. It's really on the toes of the decision makers at United if suddenly there would be a third major change, major decision that would leave Manchester United in a no man's land. It's a really, really instructive piece by obviously a must-read columnist on a Sunday morning.
I just want to pick up on there because obviously I want to ask Spurs before we do run out of time. It's for better or worse here, but is divorce inevitable for Ange and Tottenham regardless of what happens, Darren?
Yeah, I think it might well be the case. But I'll tell you what's interesting about this one. Well, two things. Harry Redknapp in The Sun says today that actually he thinks Spurs have got a better squad and a better chance of winning the Europa League. The second thing is you do wonder whether Ange himself might take the chance to say, you know what, I'm going to walk away. He's done it a couple of times before when he's answered criticism by winning something and then walking away at his previous clubs. Could that be the case again with him right now? Because he is 90 minutes away from vindicating his claim that he always wins something in his second season. He's been open about the fact that he's been fighting a losing battle himself, trying to answer his critics. Now he's got the chance to do that. And what a mic drop it would be if he were to win the Europa League, get Tottenham into the Champions League, and then say, you know what, thanks, I'm off.
What are your thoughts on that then?
I mean, I like the idea of the Louis van Gaal moment, I have to say. You know, trophy, place it on the table in the press conference and basically say, that's me, I'm done. Thanks, mate. I've got an element of sympathy for Ange Postecoglou. They have been ripped apart by injuries. Think about how they started the season. You know, he's proved that when he gets his team playing in the right way and he's got all his players fit, they can be a match for anyone. They proved it at times last year, this year as well. but they seem to just be running out of steam, don't they? And I think that certainly Tottenham fans that I speak to, I think the tipping point has come, whereby I think more want to change than don't. I don't think there's many left who are saying...
I do think a good manager can post bad numbers. I mean, not many people talk about the season when Pochettino got to the Champions League final. Final third of that season, they were all over the place. But people forget that because he got to the final. And I think with Spurs, if they were to win this thing, you're never going to forget the numbers, obviously, and the number of matches that have been lost in the domestic season, because it has been four. There's no way that you can get away from it. But as you say, there have been horrific injuries. They've been ripped apart. Morale has really taken a bit of a hit. I feel a lot of sympathy with him.
Right, let's talk Kulusevski. How big a loss is he going into this game, Darren?
Well, he's a huge loss because he can make goals, he can take goals. He has played centrally for a time at Spurs where he's been particularly effective, and you know, he's an experienced player who they can call on in the big moments. But obviously, not having him for this game is going to be a huge miss.
As Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur prepare to clash in a high-stakes Europa League final, former United captain and Sky Sports pundit Gary Neville has weighed in on the mounting pressure surrounding both clubs. With silverware and Champions League qualification on the line, Neville believes this is one of the most consequential European finals in recent years. There's massive pressure on both sides, no doubt about it, Neville said during a UEL preview segment. For United, this is about saving face after a terrible domestic season. For Tottenham, it's about finally delivering under Postecoglou and shaking off their nearly tag. Neville, who lifted European silverware during his career at United, emphasized that the final is far more than a trophy, it's a reputation-defining moment for both managers. He suggested that Rúben Amorim could be coaching for his future after United's disappointing 16th-place finish in the league, and warned that failure to win could spark unrest among supporters. Amorim came in with big expectations. A trophy gives him breathing space. Without it, the questions about his job will only get louder. Neville also acknowledged the strong progress made by Ange Postecoglou, praising his transformation of Tottenham's attacking style, but noted the need to turn performances into tangible success. Spurs have improved, no doubt, but they need silverware. This is a golden opportunity. The former defender expects an intense and open game, highlighting matchups such as Fernandes versus Maddison and Højlund versus Romero as key battles that could define the outcome. Neville also touched on the psychological edge that United might carry due to their European pedigree, but warned that past glory counts for little in a final unless it's backed by performance. History is powerful, but it doesn't win finals. United have to play like a team hungry for redemption.